Okay, so we got a lot of comments asking us to do a long narrative story. So here it is. Let me know if you like it. I'm actually really proud of this one. Okay, so let's go back in time to 18th century China. It is a time of prosperity and cultural brilliance, but also a time of rigid social hierarchy. In the Forbidden City, where the emperors lived, there were 3 gates. The outermost was called the Meridian Gate. That was where most people entered the city. Then inside of that was the Gate of Heavenly Purity. That gate was only for imperial family and female servant. And then beyond that was the Gate of Middle Purity, which was the entrance to the private imperial gardens. Only very high-ranking officials could get past the first gate, but only the emperor and those closest to him could get past the second gate, and no commoner, not even eunuchs, could ever get past the third gate. There was even a special name for the area behind that gate. They called it the inner court. One evening, an imperial concubine named Chung Shang was walking through the garden gate when she saw a majestic white rabbit. The rabbit seemed to leap out of nowhere, stared at her for a moment, then hopped through a small hole in the rocks and vanished. The rocks were part of a new garden feature the emperor had just commissioned, a series of tunnels carved inside the rockwork that would imitate the natural terrain of the surrounding mountains. But this was unusual. No rabbit should have been able to navigate these tunnels. Chun Xiang thought nothing of it, at least not at first. A week later, as she strolled through the imperial garden, she saw the white rabbit again. She tried to pet it, but it vanished before her fingers touched its fur. 3 days after that, the rabbit appeared in front of Chung Shang. As she stood before the emperor was pleased by the rabbit and asked Chung Shang to catch it. She chased the rabbit deeper and deeper into the palace, until they came to the Gate of Heavenly Purity. To Chung Shang's surprise, the normally forbidden gate swung open. The white rabbit leaped through and vanished. Of course, Chung Shang had no choice but to report this to the emperor. The emperor was furious. Only one person was worthy to enter the inner court. Him. He immediately assembled his elite eunuch guards, men who had sworn to take their life rather than allow anyone inside the inner court. The emperor gave them one simple order: find the trespasser and kill them. After searching for hours, the eunuchs returned, empty-handed. The search continued for weeks, but the mystery remained unsolved. Who could have entered the Forbidden City and avoided the notice of Chung Shang's guards? Was it an assassin sent by rival nations? Was it a mystical being from another dimension? Was it the ghost of a deposed empress, seeking revenge? No one knew. Meanwhile, an old monk was visiting from a nearby temple. He had heard about the strange events in the imperial palace and wanted to see for himself what was happening. As the emperor paced in his private chambers, the old monk approached him and offered to help solve the mystery. "My emperor," he said, "a troubled mind can often be calmed by looking at the past, by meditation and reflection." The emperor pondered the monk's words and agreed to try. He led the monk into the imperial garden and pointed to the rock monolith that marked the entrance to the tunnel. "Here is where the intruder first appeared," he explained, "and this is where she disappeared." The monk nodded and invited the emperor to sit on a nearby stone bench. As the two sat quietly, meditating on the mystery, the monk slowly began to speak. "I think I know who the trespasser is," he said. The emperor looked up in surprise. "You do? Tell me, O monk, who is this mysterious trespasser?" The old monk turned to the emperor and replied, "Your Majesty, I believe that this trespasser is none other than your own daughter." The emperor was shocked. The emperor's daughter, who had been raised in seclusion since birth, separated from all others in the palace. How could she have possibly snuck into the inner court? The monk explained. "Her Imperial Highness has been practicing martial arts in secrecy. Her movements are swift and graceful, like a white rabbit. She is a master of disguise and can easily slip past any guard. I believe that she means you no harm, but it would be wise to keep her under close watch." The emperor hesitated, torn between his duty to protect his inner court and his desire to protect his daughter. Eventually, he decided to follow the monk's advice. Secretly, he assigned a small group of eunuchs to watch over his daughter, unaware that this decision would change his life forever. When the emperor's daughter, Wairu, heard that her father had sent spies to watch her, she wasn't angry or scared. Instead, she was determined to make him proud. Every day she practiced her martial arts, learning new skills and perfecting her disguise. She studied the habits of the eunuchs, watching how they moved and what they said. And one day she decided to put her knowledge to the test. She slipped out of her chambers, disguised as an ordinary eunuch, and made her way to the inner court. As she approached the Meridian Gate, she saw a group of eunuchs playing a game of Go. With a mischievous grin, she challenged them to a match, confident in her ability to beat them without revealing her identity. The eunuchs, caught off guard by their opponent's skill, lost the game quickly and angrily, without realizing they had been defeated by the emperor's daughter. Meanwhile, the emperor had been pacing anxiously in his chambers. Hours had passed since Huiro left the palace, and he hadn't seen her return. He sent out his best eunuch to find her, but he came back empty-handed. The emperor was worried, but he pushed his concerns aside and told himself that everything would be fine. Suddenly, the sound of laughter echoed through the palace. The emperor stopped in his tracks and listened intently. He recognized the sound as his daughter's laughter. Relieved and overjoyed, he rushed to the Meridian Gate and hid behind a pillar to peek inside. What he saw was both shocking and heartwarming. His daughter was standing in the center of the inner court, surrounded by his elite unit guards. They were laughing and playing games together, no longer separated by the rigid rules of the palace. The emperor watched as his daughter made friends with his guards, feeling a sense of pride and happiness he hadn't felt in years. From that day on, the emperor allowed Wairu to visit the inner court whenever she pleased. The palace walls no longer felt like a prison, and the gardens became a place of joy and laughter. The emperor learned that by opening his heart to his daughter, he had also opened his palace to the true meaning of family.